He's so gregarious and friendly and outgoing, and he'd walk up to strangers and just start conversations. Really easy to get to know.
Do you want to record me trying to get a golf ball out of a bush? Okay, let's go.
I found some things in my house that shouldn't have been there, and that kind of threw me over the edge. I actually called the police that night and called somebody to ask them to call the caseworker. I was not in a good state. I was not at that point capable of taking care of my kids, and I knew it. I was suicidal. I wasn't able to be the mom that they needed. I wasn't able to provide them the care that they needed. Even though I knew it had to happen, it's like as it was happening, everything hit. When you have a cop taking your kid out of your arms and you realize that that has to happen, that you did that, it's very scary, it's very sad. Daniel was crying and he didn't understand, and I couldn't explain it to him because I wasn't in a good spot. So life kind of all fell apart at once, and we needed some help, and that's kind of how things started. I think the hardest part for us was you get all these professionals who are talking to each other and not necessarily talking to me or talking to Daniel, and his voice just, it didn't get heard for a really long time. Eric really helped us out just because he gave Daniel that voice. Finally, we had someone to come in and say, actually, I hung out with Daniel. I spent time with Daniel, and that Daniel wants to go home. That's what Daniel wants.
And I could tell he really liked being with his mom.
I was doing everything that I was supposed to be doing on the side. I had to do parenting classes. I had to do some individual therapy, and in the beginning I had no idea when or if I would see them again.
She had to jump through a million hoops, which she did. It was a long haul for her, years that she had to work to getting full custody of Daniel back.
He wasn't in it for what he could get out of it. He was in it for what he could do for Daniel and how he could help him.
I was looking for something where I felt I could make a little bit more of a difference in somebody's life, or with something a little bit more meaningful.
Even though Eric and Daniel didn't have a lot in common, Eric tried. I remember Daniel always wanted to go fish, and Eric's like, I don't know how to fish. I'm sorry, we're never gonna go fishing. And by the end, Eric had bought him a little tackle box and a little fishing net, and they had never caught a fish, but they went fishing.
We went hiking once, and we were just on a fishing trip. We never caught anything.
Mostly we just come to places like this, and he's just a real nature kid and just likes to get out and root around in the weeds and look for snakes and spiders and stuff like that.
I think the favorite thing I did with him was probably when we saw all those snakes when we were fishing. I like snakes.
Big old fat snakes. They're big. Yeah, it's pretty. Oh, this is another good memory. We were at some arcade thing in Loveland, and we got done, and we walked out a door, and as we were going out the door, we realized it was a fire exit only. So we set off an alarm, and we both just took off running like kids, like we were gonna get in trouble. We just ran down the street. It was hilarious. Jumped in the car. He thought that was hilarious.
These are people that are volunteering to do this. They're doing it because they care about our kids. The system is really scary. There's all these grown-ups with these big titles and, with their pads of paper, and they're always writing notes down, and, court dates go really, really fast, and sometimes at the end you feel like you don't even know what happened. And they don't show up with a notebook. They just show up with a baseball and a bat to go play baseball, or a fishing pole to go fishing. They're really just there to hang out. And it really gives them that freedom to really feel like they can open up on their own terms. While they can't stand up in court and speak for themselves, having a CASA gives them someone who can speak on their behalf.